watching Republic Live, and well, Republic is accessed NIA charge sheet against Gautam Navlakha. This charge sheet details Navlakha's link to ISI and its stooge Gautam Nabi Fair, who was arrested by the FBI in the year 2011. Now, during the course of the investigation, it is established that accused Gautam Navlakha had visited the United States thrice to address Kashmiri American Council conference organized by Gautam Nabi Fair. Several other explosive details as per the NIA charge sheet. As far as Gautam Navlakha is concerned, he was introduced to Pakistan ISI General via Gautam Fair. ISI stooge Gautam Fair was then arrested by FBI in 2011. Fair was arrested for getting funds from ISI and Pakistan. Navlakha wanted clemency for ISI stooge Gautam Nabi Fair. As far as that Pakistan Army General is concerned, he was introduced to Navlakha through Fair and wanted to recruit Navlakha for ISI activities as well. Explosive details that have come to light as far as this 10,000-page charge sheet is concerned. Moreover, the charge sheet goes on to reveal how ISI instructed Gautam Nabi Fair to facilitate Pakistan General Navlakha meet. Also, the NIA has found ample proof of Navlakha's nexus with Pakistan's ISI and convicted ISI stooge who was arrested by the FBI 2011. This is Gautam Nabi Fair we're talking about. He has admitted ISI funds Salahuddin Hizbul in America. Our senior associate editor Shavan Sen is with us. Shavan, explosive details as far as this 10,000-page charge sheet is concerned. We're looking at an account that was given by US authorities, which becomes extremely crucial. What more can you share with us?
Well, in fact, let me first begin by quoting the NIA charge sheet that has been filed. Gautam Navlakha is one of the 8 people who have been charge sheeted in the Bhima Koregaon case. Now, what becomes very explosive is point number 17.4 in that particular charge sheet, and I'm quoting from the charge sheet. This is what the NIA has told the court. Their investigation has essentially found that Gautam Nabi Fair was given specific instructions. He was given specific instructions by the ISI to recruit Gautam Navlakha. In fact, Gautam Navlakha had a meeting with an ISI general. Now, that's what the NIA says in its 10,000-page charge sheet that has been filed. Now, there are details of other accused in this particular case. Hani Babu becomes one of them. Stan Swabi, who was recently arrested, details of him also is part of this entire charge sheet. But why exactly are we focusing on Gautam Navlakha? Here is a man who's been espousing this human rights values all this while. In fact, there have been several statements that have been made by saying that he's nothing but a political pawn. He's been made a scapegoat. This entire arrest that has been made by the National Investigation Agency is illegal. Now, that's what Gautam Navlakha has been saying. But to counter this, you've had certain evidences now that have been produced before the court. And one such evidence that we are talking about is in my hands. Now, this is a court order in the year 2012. And I'll ask my camera person to come a little closer, and then I'll show you details of this particular order and why this order becomes very clear. We're talking about one gentleman. His name is Gautam Nabi Fair. He was arrested by the FBI in the year 2011. In 2012, there was an argument that was put forth before the US court. This is what the US authorities had to say about a man who was arrested in the year 2011 by the FBI, which they are saying that he was receiving funds from the ISI and he was not disclosing it before the US authorities, which makes a violation in itself as far as the US court is concerned. Now, remember this man, Gautam Nabi Fair, was actually working for what they have been calling an indigenous Kashmiri resistance group called the KAC. In fact, as far as KAC is concerned, you've had now Gautam Navlakha's links that are emerging. In fact, Gautam Navlakha visited the United States of America thrice, gave speeches in various forums or various seminars that were basically organized by Gautam Nabi Fair for the KAC. Now, let's focus on this document that has been accessed by Republic TV, in which this is what they've been saying about Fair. Fair suggests that the only connection between the ISI and his work at the KAC was his receipt of funds, and that his receipt of those funds had no strings attached. And now, coming to what the US authorities have to say. The facts in the record establish that such suggestion is false, as the statement of facts established that Fair entered contracts with ISI approval and was reprimanded by the ISI handler when he failed to get such approval in advance. He reported on his activities to the ISI as instructed by the ISI. He submitted the budgets to the ISI for approval and reduced them when so instructed by the ISI. 5 invited people to the conferences under the auspices of the KAC that the ISI instructed him to invite, and chose topics for the conferences that the ISI instructed him to choose. Now, let me put this into perspective. When you're talking about these conferences, who are the people who are attending these conferences? One such person was Gautam Navlakha, who's now been arrested by the National Investigation Agency. Gautam Navlakha, in fact, went to the United States of America thrice, attended seminars. It was in close contact with Ghulam Nabi Fai over through emails. There were email exchanges that took place. There were phone conversations that actually took place. And now this document, let me go to page number 4 as to how exactly does the Indian government view this man called Ghulam Nabi Fai? And when you say that the association between Ghulam Nabi Fai and Gautam Navlakha, that becomes extremely crucial, because that raises very uncomfortable questions. And when the trial actually is going to take place, questions would be raised that wasn't Mr. Gautam Navlakha aware of the fact that this man, Ghulam Nabi Fai, with whom he was in close contact with, was nothing but an ISI agent? Now, because this is what the government actually says, and I would like my camera person to come a little closer here. Fai claims that he concealed his connections to the ISI because revealing them would have undermined his credibility with his constituents, and particularly with the government of India and the indigenous Kashmiri resistance. To the contrary, revealing his ISI connection would not have undermined his credibility with the government of India, because he had no credibility with the government of India. The Indian government understood that Fai was an agent of Pakistan. Further, revealing his ISI connections would not have undermined his credibility with the indigenous Kashmiri resistance. So it's amply clear. US authorities, rather US federal agencies, when they carried out the investigation, they essentially found out that Ghulam Nabi Fai was actually receiving funds from the ISI. And what was he doing with those funds? He was basically carrying out these so-called conferences as far as indigenous Kashmiri resistance is concerned. But yet another platform which was utilized by the liberals here in India, flying down the money that was basically given by Pakistan. And one big headline that comes out from this particular charge sheet is that claim that has now been made by the National Investigation Agency as far as this man Gautam Navlakha is concerned, because somewhere down the line, the National Investigation Agency is now saying that he was recruited. He was in fact recruited by the ISI. On the instructions of ISI, he was recruited by this man, Ghulam Nabi Fai. So it is no longer about just some sort of a deal that was basically taking place. But the NIA says, let me repeat, the NIA says in its charge sheet that he was recruited by the ISI. Instructions were given by an ISI general to Ghulam Nabi Fai to basically recruit this man called Gautam Navlakha.
Absolutely. So two things extremely clear, that it was Ghulam Nabi Fai who introduced Gautam Navlakha to the ISI general, following which NIA charge sheet also going on to highlight how Gautam Navlakha did meet the ISI general for recruitment. The ISI Gautam Navlakha link is extremely clear. Explosive news break. Shavan, thank you for sharing all those details.